Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Moore. Tonight, I'm going to talk about conversations that happen between mothers and daughters, and trust and female desire. Let me say first that my mother trusted my sister and me. Her trust was an ambush. It was impossible to lie to my mother because she believed me. Trust is a gift, and it's hard not to live up to it. I didn't lie to my mother. Instead, I told her everything. That doesn't mean I was not saucy. Recently, I wrote an essay about my mother's jewelry for a fashion magazine. All of her jewelry was big and solid and silver and costume. As a child, I thought it was fit for a queen. That old stuff, my mother said, that stuff is just junk. A silver snake bracelet that wrapped 3 times around her arm like something Elizabeth Taylor wore in the movie Cleopatra, or something Eve might have worn in the garden. I told my mother that the essay about jewelry was just an excuse to write about her. I was writing that when I was saucy as a child, my mother would throw her slipper at me. She'd be on one side of a spiral staircase with her slipper aimed, ready to fire, and I'd be feinting to the left and to the right on the opposite side of the staircase, too fast for her. "Hold still," she'd tell me, as the slipper hit the wall behind me. "You missed," I'd squeal. "Is it okay if I write about you throwing your slipper at me?" I asked her. "Be sure to write it was a soft-soled slipper," my mother said. My mother was one of those mothers who gave this advice for just about every problem that came up. Remember who you are. It was enigmatic advice, a kind of Zen koan, a riddle. I wasn't anybody at all. I think she meant don't get sidetracked, or stay true, or imagine who you want to be, and then don't forget what you want. One day, we are sitting on the edge of the bathtub together, and I am 9, and I don't know why we're on the edge of the bathtub. My mother has a children's book with cardboard pages on her lap, which is strange, because we're already into chapter books. It begins, innocuously enough, with flowers. First flowers, and then birds, and some bees. It seems too young for me. But it's a fun game being alone together, and what is my mother up to? I can read by myself. But we're having some kind of experience, some cozy, slightly formal mother-daughter thing, and it feels faintly ritualistic. We are just together, just the two of us. Something is going on. There's an air of anticipation. Then she turns the cardboard page, and there is the image of a man on top of a woman with his penis in her vagina. Let me back up. First, there is a page with just the man, with his penis, which sticks out straight from his body. How peculiar and inconvenient and just out there this thing is, and floppy. How funny and vulnerable and ugly and sad. That on its own was horrible enough. I'd never seen a real penis. I'd never even seen a picture. What in the name of God was my mother doing? But then, without warning or explanation, on the very next page, the man and the woman have become inexplicably naked together at the same time in the same empty white room, and the man is lying on top of the woman, and he's inserted his penis into her vagina. Speaking of the art of conversation, what the hell kind of conversation could have happened for these two deranged people What kind of conversation could they have had that could have ever led to this absurdity, this disturbing, stomach-swirling, impolite, outrageous blasphemy against all that is ordinary and normal? Why would anyone do such a thing? All the relevant body parts have lines leading to bubbles, and the bubbles have words that label the parts. But it is the next page that delivers the crowning seismic shock. It says that this is how babies are formed. I felt betrayed, the embarrassment. Then I knew, meaning I was visited by a profound revelation at that very instant, that my mother had done this very thing with my father. This is how babies were made, and I had been their baby. Why, I asked my mother. Why would anyone do that? Because it feels nice, my mother said. Because it feels beautiful. Because it is an expression of love. Did she say that? Am I remembering it right? Remember who you are, because it feels nice. I know she talked about love, and what I realized on the side of that cold bathtub, this act made me. And then, only slightly less of a shock, when I was 11 years old, my friends and I discovered what oral sex was. Gag me with a spoon. It was decided that I should ask my mother if we had to do that when we got married. We said married back then because we went to St. Pius X School for Girls. My mother did not hesitate. She said, "You don't ever have to do anything you don't want to do." My sister is helping to organize a slut walk in St. John's. As many of you know, these walks started in Toronto 4 years ago when a police officer addressing a law school about sexual assault said, "If women don't want to be sexually assaulted, they shouldn't dress like sluts." My sister worked with the police at the time and decided she wanted to get involved with the status of women and organize a slut walk in St. John's. The message with the slut walk, my sister says, is that it is not okay to sexually assault anyone, no matter what they are wearing. The idea is to take ownership of the word slut, to strip it of its ability to shame. My sister recently posted this conversation she had with my mother on Facebook. "Lynn, I'm helping to organize a slut walk. Mom, is that what you're calling it?" Lynn, "Yup, I think so." Mom, "I don't know where I got you." Lynn, "But will you come?" Mom, "Yes, girl, I'll come." When my daughter was born, I went into toxic shock. And when my mother arrived at the hospital, the doctor told her he might not be able to save me. In an essay I wrote about giving birth, I explained that a doctor said, with toxemia, the baby essentially poisons the mother. My daughter looked up from reading the essay, her big blue eyes becoming brighter and a deeper blue as they glassed over with tears. "I nearly poisoned you? My God, I nearly poisoned you?" I could say to her now, "But honey, you didn't give me a day's trouble after that." But this is not strictly true. The first year she lived away from home in Montreal, one night, there were a series of phone calls at 5 in the morning that failed to wake me up. 5:03, "Mom, pick up the phone. I'm drunk in the metro station and I don't know where I am and I've fallen down and I can't stand up." 5:07, a hang-up. 5:09, a hang-up. 5:10, a hang-up. 5:13, "Mom, answer the phone. Please answer. Nobody will help me. 5:15. Mom, are you there? What is the conversation between mothers and daughters? What I have learned from my mother is to be courageous about desire. It's also what I've learned from my daughter, because it feels nice, because I don't have to do anything I don't want to do, because I can do and be whatever I want, because it's all tangled up with love. I teach creative writing, and I tell my students that plot equals desire plus action, and that you have to be honest and write about those relations that matter and matter to the very core of who you are and where we come from. If I could be a fairy godmother instead of a regular mother who sometimes gives way to fear for our daughters, for their safety, if I could be a courageous fairy godmother instead, I would say, we come into being through desire and action. Experience this world with all of your senses, and then act. Remember who you are. Thank you.